solve math computation problems using the order of operations. In the order of operations, you will always solve grouping symbols first. Anything that is inside of parentheses or inside of brackets must be solved first. Next, you'll solve exponents. The exponent in a problem tells you how many times you multiply the base by itself. After exponents, you will multiply or divide depending on your problem. So you multiply or divide from left to right in your problem, which means whichever one comes first, you do first in your problem. Finally, the last step is to add or subtract from left to right. So let's look at a few examples. This problem says 4 times 7 minus 6 to the second power divided by 3. If we remember our order of operations, the first step is to look for grouping symbols. In this problem, I notice that I don't have any parentheses or brackets, which means I can move on to the second step, which is exponents. Well, I do notice that I have an exponent right here, and this is 6 to the second power. This exponent of 2 tells me that I would multiply 6 by itself 2 times. So 6 to the second power means that I would multiply 6 times 6. And when I multiply 6 times 6, I get 36. So now I'm going to rewrite my problem, except now I'm going to simplify 6 to the second power to 36. So I have 4 times 7 minus, and now I'm going to say 36 divided by 3. Now my next step is to multiply or divide from left to right. Well, when I look at my problem, I notice that the first thing in my problem is a multiplication problem. So that's what I'm going to do first. 4 times 7 gives me 28, so I'll write 28. Then the rest of my problem says minus 36 divided by 3. Now I have subtraction and I have division. The order of operations tells me I would do my division first. So I'm going to solve 36 divided by 3. When I do 36 divided by 3, I get 12. So now my problem says 28 minus 12. And now all I have to do is subtract 28 minus 12. And when I do that, I get 16. This problem says 8 to the second power plus 6 times 14 minus 12. You'll notice that when you have a number next to parentheses or brackets and there is no symbol, that always means to multiply. Now, to solve this, I'm going to start with my grouping symbol, which is my parentheses, and I'm going to solve what's inside of my parentheses. So the first thing I'm going to do is 14 minus 12, and 14 minus 12 will give me 2. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. I have 8 to the second power plus 6, and then times, I simplified what was inside my parentheses to 2. Now I need to go to the next step. So technically I still have a set of parentheses here that I've written. But if you notice inside of my parentheses, there is no operation for me to perform, which means now I can move on to my exponents. Well, I have 8 to the second power. And 8 to the second power means to multiply 8 by itself 2 times. So that means 8 times 8. And when I solve 8 times 8, I get 64. So 8 to the second power is equal to 64. And now I'm going to add the rest of this, which is plus 6 times 2. Now when I look at my problem, I notice that I have addition and multiplication. Well, in the order of operations, I would always multiply or divide before I add or subtract. So the next thing that I need to do is 6 times 2. Well, when I multiply 6 times 2, I get 12. So now I have 64 plus 12. And when I add 64 plus 12, I get 76. My next problem says 2 to the fourth power minus 24 divided by 3 plus 1. The first thing I need to look for are grouping symbols, but I notice that I don't have any parentheses or brackets. So I move on to the next part of the order of operations, which is exponents. And I do have exponents here. Well, that 2 to the 4th power tells me to multiply 2 by itself 4 times. So it tells me to do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Well, when I multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, I'm going to get 16. So 2 to the 4th power is going to be simplified to 16, and then I'm going to rewrite the rest of my expression. After exponents, I need to look for multiplying or dividing. I don't have any multiplying, but I do have dividing right here, which is 24 divided by 3. So I'm going to simplify 24 divided by 3, which would give me 8. So I rewrite the rest of my problem, 16 minus, and I simplify 24 divided by 3 to 8. And then I also have plus 1. Now I have no more multiplying and dividing, and I only have adding or subtracting. And remember, I need to always add or subtract, and I need to do it from left to right, so whichever one comes first. So in this problem, 16 minus 8 comes before adding the 1. So I would subtract 16 minus 8, which would give me 8, and then I would add 1. 8 plus 1 gives me 9. For this problem, I have 3 plus 4 to the 2nd power minus 32. Because I'm using the order of operations, I'm always going to start with my grouping symbol. So I notice that I have parentheses, and I'm going to simplify what's inside the parentheses first. So I'll solve 3 plus 4, which gives me 7. And now I notice that 7 is being raised to the 2nd power, and then the rest of my expression says subtract 32. Now, although I do still have these parentheses that I've written, there is no operation to do inside of it, so I'm going to move on to exponents. I have this exponent of 2 here, which tells me that I'm going to multiply 7 by itself 2 times. So this says 7 times 7, which is 49. So this simplifies to 49 minus 32. And when I solve 49 minus 32, I get 17. Next, I have 11 to the 2nd power minus 8 times 7 plus 2. There are no grouping symbols, so I move to exponents. I have 11 to the 2nd power, which means 11 multiplied by itself twice, so 11 times 11. And 11 times 11 is equal to 121. So this is going to be 121 minus 8 times 7 plus 2. The next step after exponents is multiply or divide. I have multiplication right here, so I'm going to need to do 8 times 7, which is 56. So I have 121 minus 56 plus 2. Now I need to add or subtract from left to right. So the first thing that I see is subtracting, so that's what I'll do first. 121 minus 56, which gives me 65. And then I have plus 2. When I add 65 plus 2, I get 67.